You're listening to Kate Palmer for Lulu Art, and today I'm going to show you 3 ways to decorate your traveller's notebook inserts. Hi everyone! By now you've probably seen my Prima traveller's notebook video. This thing is fast becoming my favourite notebook, and I've got all these cute little inserts for it. So I have a blank one from Prima that has some really pretty flowers. I have the black covered weekly notebook, which is a really great layout. I really like this. It feels very spacious. And I have a Midori craft traveller's notebook because I just like using some different paper sometimes. You know me, I can't leave it just the way it is. So these need a little bit of the Sparkle Tart personal touch. So in today's video, I'm going to show you 3 different ways, 3 different styles of how to decorate your traveller's notebook inserts. Let's start by making the black journal cover bright and bold. I've got one of the gorgeous cathedral stencils, and I have some light moulding paste from Golden. And I'm just going to add a really thin layer. Now once that's covered to your liking, carefully lift off the stencil and leave this to dry. So now that my moulding paste is dry, it's time to add a bit more personality to this. So I have some of the Lindy's Stamp Gang sprays, and these are from the Drop Dead Diva collection. And I've got High Maintenance Magenta, Blingy Blonde, and Sassy Sapphire. Now if I spray these on my cover, it will probably buckle a little bit. So instead of spraying, I'm going to flip these. Now I have the Sassy Sapphire because I know it's got a beautiful blue pearl shimmer, and I'm hoping it's going to match with this just a little, just a bit. Okay, maybe a lot. Now on the black, you're only going to get the tiniest bit of that blue showing. In fact, most of what you'll see is the shimmer colour. So I'm just going to add little bits of this to the edges, just to add a little bit of colour. Okay, so that was the Sassy Sapphire, and it's got some real punch, as you can see, both on the black, where you're getting sort of more of a blue pearl effect, and then on the white you've got that stunning colour. Now, okay, so this is a little bit of the Blingy Blonde, and I just want a hint of this, just for a slightly different colour. Now, I'm probably not going to use this on the texture paste here. As I said, I just want a little bit of a hint, something different. And lastly, the High Maintenance Magenta. So let me make sure this is nice and dry. I'm going to put the stencil back over the top. And I've got some of the Prima acrylic paints, and I've got Pink Blush, Mermaid Teal, and Crocus Fields. I'm going to put a little bit of paint from each of these in the lid. Now I have a nice little brush that I like using for stippling. And I'm just going to go really slowly, making sure I don't move my stencil. And I'm going to add some of these colours. Now when I'm ready to swap between one colour and the next, I can either clean off my brush, and just do that by wiping it off on a baby wipe, which doesn't make it too wet, and it does get rid of enough of the colour. Okay, so now it's time to sort of blend those colours around a bit. Now, of course, if at any time the brush is getting too painty, just wipe it off. You can go back in with a bit more colour. So at this point, I'm just going to remove the stencil, and you can see I've still got that beautiful black in the background, so it really bright and stands out. And I'm just going to wipe this off with the baby wipe and then dry this for a little bit. Now, to add the finishing touch, I have some of the Art Alchemy metallic wax, and this one is in aged brass. Okay, now I'm just going to use my finger to apply some of this wax paste. Now I really just want the tiniest bit at a time, so I'm just going to go really slowly, see if I can do this without making a mess. Because what I would like to do is highlight the texture without obscuring the colour. Oh my goodness, I wish you could see this. So the more of this paste you get on your finger, the more pronounced the gold areas will be and the bolder. I would recommend getting just the tiniest smudge to begin with and adding just a little, because you can always go back in later and add more, but if you add too much and overpower it, you're stuck with it. Now in some areas that have got more texture, you might like to add a little bit more of this just to highlight them, but that's up to you. I'm super happy with this. So when you take that off, you now have okay, that is actually pretty true to colour. Just check that out. I mean, wow, so pretty, and it really just goes so well with all those little spots. Now the only thing I think I need now to finish this is a few gold spots, so let me go and get my very trusty Gansai Tambi colours, and they're so reliable. So all I need to do is squeeze a little bit of water, and I think I'm going to go with the slightly red gold for this to match that aged brass, I think. And our black journal is now finished, so it's time to move on to our second journal, and this one will be a girly collage. So the next journal cover I'm doing is this one from Prima, and it's a scribbles covered notebook, or scribbled line notebook, and it's already really beautiful. I'm going to make it more me, and to do that I'm going to use some beautiful products from Davenport, and I'm going to use these to grab my main image. So the first thing I'm going to do is remove one of these beautiful Jane girls from the book, and I'm just going to cut that out. Doesn't that look amazing already? So what I'm going to do is stick this down, and I think I'm going to make sure that it goes off the page a little bit. I'm going to use the Prima glue pen and just add a bit of this. Fantastic, that is an excellent start to my page here. Now it's time to add some washi tape and a few stickers, also from the Davenport collection. And now I'm going to use the Davenport Incredible pen to add a few little swishy bits to make this a bit more mine. Next, use a Sharpie paint marker in two different ways to help separate your image from the background. First, add a little bit of this around the image and then soften it using a water brush. So this will create sort of a boundary between the image and the stripes on the background, but it'll be very soft and transparent. Then add some scribbles of paint marker without water brushing them, just for a bit more interest. Embellish your image using a black paint pen, just to add a little bit more impact. It makes some of the lines a little bit more bold and sort of gives you a bit more of a punchy effect. Now you can stop right here if this is the look you want for your journal cover. For me, I need to add just a few more things so that it feels finished, but you might like to leave it right here. To finish this off, I'm just going to add two extra elements, and that is acrylic paint, and this is an Art Alchemy metallic paint, and the colour is light patina, and a few drips of carbon black Liquitex ink. I'm going to start by adding a light wash of the Art Alchemy paint, and to do this I'm applying it with a water brush and then just sort of spreading it out towards the journal cover. So I'm starting towards my image and then just spreading it out, so you get this beautiful washy effect. Now, because the journal cover is slightly resistant, you'll get a few water drying marks and little pull marks. I actually quite like these. Now, to achieve a darker blue using the same paint, I'm swapping to a normal brush, and I'm going to add this around the edges of the image and then blot it with a paper towel, so that it sort of diffuses the edges of the paint and I won't end up with a ring. Cover anything important with a paper towel before starting this flicking technique, because it's really easy for the droplets to go where you don't expect. Once everything's covered, use the eyedropper from the Liquitex bottle to add the carbon black ink in small or large droplets over your background. If you'd like a drop of ink somewhere specific, you can always cheat and touch the eyedropper to your page. For me, this journal cover is now finished, but it's still not bulky, so useful. Next, let's do our third and final cover, and we'll be using the craft for a vintage theme. Now this last journal insert is a craft Midori insert. The inside is craft coloured, as is the outside, and I think this is perfect for a vintage or travel themed journal insert. So I'm going to make this particular one all about Tim Holtz. So I'm going to start with a Crafter's Workshop stencil. This one is the mini ledger. I'm going to add some distress inks and then a little collage, again keeping it relatively flat. So I have a beautiful vintage book page here from Lulu Art, of course, and I'm just going to tear it directly down the middle. Then use the Prima glue stick to glue this onto your traveller's notebook. I'm only covering half of mine, and trim off the excess. Now, if you were looking for a quick and simple way to embellish your journal covers, you could even just leave it like that, because even that looks just that little bit prettier and more personal than just a plain craft cover. But I'm not going to leave it there. Now I'm going to add a little of the black soot and walnut stain distress inks through the stencil to create a bit of an image on my background. Once you have the background pattern complete, add a little bit of distress spray stain, and this is the tarnished brass. Now these are different from the Lindy's sprays. They're much more opaque, and you don't get any transparency or translucency with these. Once you spray them, that's where they stay. So make sure you add this exactly where you'd like it, and then leave it to dry before adding any other elements. So now I have a batch of things that can work. Once this is dry, I'm just going to layer them up together as a collage. I might use some of the distress inks to edge them if they need to be lifted from the background at all. So I've just used the distress ink in black soot and walnut stain to edge all of my little elements before I put them down. And I've used the leftover ink on a little piece of gauze that I've then spritzed with some water. Now I'm just going to dry this with the heat tool. Now while I'm drying, you can see the Tim Holtz Distress Spray Stain is a lot more opaque than Lindy's and covers rather than is transparent. So instead of ending up with just a single flat colour, I'll get a little bit of a variety. Now it's time to start layering my collage elements. I'm going to glue these together with both glossy accents and the beautiful Prima glue pen to make sure I get everything in the right place. I've done a test run and taken a photo of where I want everything before I start adding these to the page. And I've just got this sitting off to one side on my phone so I can make sure I get everything just where I want it. Once you've layered all your collage elements, wait for these to dry before moving on to the next step. Add a small Tim Holtz sticker and we're almost finished. I just choose whichever one speaks to me at the time. And I don't want to add too much to it because I don't want it to be too busy, but it's got to have a little bit of sparkle. So I'm going to add some stickles in gold dust and gunmetal, just sort of randomly to help enhance some of those elements. But I've got just enough so that the sparkle sort of draws your eye a little. Now if you want sparkle but don't want too much, add both colours of stickles and then take a paper towel and blot a little bit off, or you can blot a lot off if you like. If you leave it for about a minute, you'll find that quite a lot of the stickles will still stick to your project, but when you blot, it will remove some of the bling effect. So it's still there, but a bit more grungy looking, a bit more subtle. I found it really pretty like this. As the final touch, add a little glossy accents to the number 25 and leave this to dry. And in blotting it off, you kind of get a more distressed look, so it's not quite so perfect. You can sort of see it's still there, it's still helping enhance it, it's just not quite so blingy. Now the only thing that's bothering me now is that I don't have any matching minty turquoisey colour anywhere else. So I'm going to grab my Jane Davenport watercolours, and these are the brights. This is one of the rub-ons that I've just added to the front of the tin. And I'm just going to add a little tiny bit of minty turquoisey colour, just so it's a bit more balanced. Once this is dry, this will be my Tim Holtz decorated journal insert. And if I turn it on its side, you can see that that's barely added any bulk to the front of the journal at all. And I now have 3 wildly different Traveller's Notebook journals, decorated in 3 very different styles, and I love all of them. I'm hoping one of them might suit your style as well. So bright and bold, collage, you got to call that girly collage or collage chic, and a vintage travel. So each of these very different, quite unique, and as you can see, quite easy to do and still really flat, so they don't add any bulk to your gorgeous Traveller's Notebook, so you can fit as many in there as possible. They suit a wide range of journals, and even this one, flat as. So I hope you've enjoyed seeing these 3 different ideas for 3 different Traveller's Notebook decorating styles. And I'll be back soon with another creative idea.